Why the hell is the VP's cold brew machine making sounds like a dying moose again? I muttered, crawling behind the server cabinet with a flashlight clenched between my teeth and a half-eaten granola bar in my jacket pocket. That overpriced contraption was wired to the same circuit as the air conditioning for the North Wing, something I discovered after the great caffeine blackout of 2018. Nobody documented that little electrical disaster. Of course not. Nobody but me ever documented anything in this glass tower of corporate amnesia. But I remembered everything, because that's what I do. That's what I've always done. The morning started like every other for the past 19 years. Me, Jarvis and Coleman, swiping my badge at 6:52 a.m., 18 minutes before the official start time, carrying the same worn leather portfolio I'd used since 2004. I'd condition it every spring with mink oil. You'd be amazed how many executives panic when a zipper sticks, acting like their PowerPoint presentation holds the cure for world hunger. The night cleaning crew had left chewed gum stuck to the break room microwave again. Someone from marketing forgot leftover Thai food in the mini fridge over the weekend. Pad Thai turned into biological warfare. The kombucha someone left exploded like a fermented grenade. Technically not my job, not written in any contract or handbook. But guess who scraped fish sauce off a smart refrigerator with a credit card and paper towels? This woman right here. Some days I felt like the corporate equivalent of superglue, holding everything together in complete silence, only noticed when something fell apart. The CEO, Bradford Kingsley, still thought I was the receptionist, even though my business cards clearly read Operations and Facilities Director. My inbox overflowed with 2,847 unread urgent emails from people who couldn't replace printer paper without a YouTube tutorial. It got worse when they hired that new HR director, Brittany. Fresh from business school, all veneers and vision boards. She once asked me where the Ethernet cable plugged in. I told her, same place your career prospects are headed, sweetie. She didn't find it amusing. Now, folks, I know 94% of you listening haven't hit that subscribe button yet. That's like coming to a barbecue empty-handed and leaving with a full plate of ribs. Hit subscribe, keeps the coffee brewing and the corporate chaos flowing. I didn't attend Harvard Business School. Didn't wear blazers that cost more than my Honda Civic. But I knew that building like a grandmother knows her recipe box. Which pipes groaned before the weekend rain. Which thermostat had a nervous breakdown when humidity hit 68%. Where the electrical panel hummed like an angry beehive if you opened it too quickly. I'd kept Kingsley Technologies breathing through power outages, plumbing disasters, and 4 CEOs worth of questionable decisions. And they just forgot. No employee of the month parking spot, no Christmas bonus, no handwritten thank you notes. Just that one time when I stayed until midnight unclogging the executive bathroom after someone flushed a company phone down the toilet. Don't ask. The old CFO handed me a protein bar and said, "You're a lifesaver, Janet." My name is Jarvis. At some point, I stopped correcting them. I wasn't trying to be anyone's hero back then. I just believed in doing things right, doing them completely. That lease agreement, the one that let us occupy prime downtown Denver real estate for a fraction of market value, I negotiated that masterpiece back when we couldn't even get a landlord to return our voicemails. The company had 7 employees, 2 functioning computers, and a fax machine held together with electrical tape and wishful thinking. The founder, Bradford Kingsley, sat across from me at a Denny's on Colfax Avenue, stirring his coffee with a plastic spoon like he was mixing concrete. "Jarvis," he said, dark circles under his eyes, "if you don't co-sign this lease, we'll be operating out of my garage in Lakewood. My wife will divorce me and take the dog." I didn't co-sign. I put the entire lease under my name, just temporarily, until we established credit. "Don't worry about it," I told him. "We're family here." Like most families, they eventually forgot who kept the lights on and the doors unlocked. We never had that conversation again, because after that first year, it was always me handling the lease renewals. Me coordinating with the property management company. Me arranging the HVAC installations, the carpet replacements, dealing with that mysterious smell in Suite C that turned out to be a dead pigeon in the ventilation system. They never transferred my name off the lease documents. Never even discussed it. The lawyers were too busy with intellectual property and acquisition contracts. The executives were too focused on quarterly projections and Series B funding rounds. I was just there. Invisible infrastructure. Human scaffolding. I kept meticulous records in a filing cabinet that looked like it survived a government auction. Pink folders labeled in black Sharpie, lease 2004 Jarvis only. Original agreements, 7 amendments, receipts for the lobby furniture I bought with my own credit card before we could afford a company account, and 3 sticky notes with crayon drawings from Bradford's daughter back when our entire operation fit in a converted pizza kitchen above Tony's Authentic Italian. 19 years ago, they couldn't secure a business loan if their startup dreams depended on it. No credit history, no revenue projections, just one laptop and a landline that sounded like a dying vacuum cleaner. I signed that lease because I believed in the vision. Believed in Bradford's midnight coding sessions and his wife's homemade sandwiches during our weekend product launches. But belief has an expiration date, just like that expired yogurt someone left in the office refrigerator with my name on it. The company grew. We moved from the pizza kitchen to 2 floors of a glass tower with a view of the Rocky Mountains. IPO talks started floating around the executive conference room like expensive cologne. Bradford traded his Honda for a Tesla, his Denny's coffee meetings for steakhouse investor dinners. And I was still there, still invisible, still holding the keys to everything that mattered while they held the keys to everything that sparkled. That Monday hit like a slap from a trusted friend. HR sent an all-staff email with the subject line Organizational Evolution Opportunities, corporate speak that translates to someone's getting thrown under the bus, and we're driving. My stomach dropped faster than our stock price after that data breach in 2019. I'd seen enough executives practice their layoff speeches in the mirror-walled conference room to recognize the setup. The fake sympathy, the scripted apologies, the manila folders stuffed with legal documents and crocodile tears. I was next on the chopping block, and they didn't even have the courtesy to sharpen the axe. The meeting invitation arrived at 4:47 p.m. on a Tuesday, dropped into my calendar like a turd in a swimming pool. Subject: Quick Sync HR. No context, no agenda, just a digital death sentence scheduled for 9 a.m. the following morning. I walked into that glass conference room wearing my navy cardigan, the one with the small bleach stain shaped like Texas and a loose button I'd been meaning to fix for 6 months. That cardigan had survived 3 merger attempts, 1 small electrical fire, and a baby shower that ended with someone crying in the supply closet. It was my armor. Brittany from HR sat there like a mannequin from Nordstrom's professional women's section, her smile so practiced it probably had its own LinkedIn endorsement. Next to her, some attorney I'd never seen before, slicked back hair, Italian leather shoes, clutching a folder like it contained nuclear launch codes. "Jarvis, thank you for joining us," Brittany chirped, her voice hitting that fake cheerful frequency that makes dogs bark. "We wanted to have a restructuring conversation." Restructuring. The word hit me like a Louisville slugger to the chest. I'd heard it whispered in elevator conversations, seen it printed in company memos, watched it destroy good people who'd given their best years to this place. "The company is pivoting in a new direction," she continued, sliding the folder across the polished table like a dealer pushing cards. "Unfortunately, that direction doesn't include your current position." I opened the folder. Generic severance package, 3 months' salary, health insurance through the end of the quarter, and an NDA thicker than a Stephen King novel. The letterhead got my name wrong, called me Jarvis A. Coleman Martinez. 19 years, and they couldn't even spell my name correctly on my termination papers. "We'll need your badge, keys, and any company property today," the lawyer added, his voice carrying all the warmth of a tax audit. I reached into my purse and placed my badge on the table like I was folding in a poker game. Then the keys, all 14 of them, each one labeled in my handwriting from different years, different crises, different late nights when I was the only one who cared enough to stay. "You sure about this?" I asked, looking directly at Brittany. "Last chance to reconsider." She gave me that HR expression, sympathetic as margarine, fake as campaign promises. "It's nothing personal, Jarvis." "Sure it isn't," I stood up, gathering what remained of my dignity. "Just remember, you can't fire what you never bothered to understand." The sunlight felt sharp against my skin as I walked to my Honda in the parking garage. 19 years of early mornings, weekend emergencies, and thankless troubleshooting, and they dismissed me like expired milk. But they'd forgotten something crucial. In their rush to cut costs and restructure departments, they'd overlooked one tiny detail that would soon become their biggest nightmare. I still held the lease. Every legal document, every renewal, every amendment, all in my name, all in my control. And they'd just fired their landlord. I didn't drive straight home after they tossed me out like last week's takeout. Instead, I pulled into a Starbucks parking lot, killed the engine, and called Tommy Rodriguez. Tommy was my neighbor's kid who used to mow my lawn for $20 and a grilled cheese sandwich. Now he's a real estate attorney with a Bluetooth headset permanently grafted to his skull and a nervous tic whenever someone mentions property disputes. He answered on the first ring. "Jarvis, everything okay?" "No," I said, watching office workers hurry past my windshield like ants fleeing a rainstorm. "But it's about to be. Remember that lease we set up in '04? Long pause. Then a low whistle that could have summoned ships in fog. "Oh, that lease. The one you signed personally." "That's the one. Do they know?" Tommy's laugh had edges sharp enough to cut glass. "Based on what you just told me? They have no clue what's coming." My house smelled like lemon furniture polish and old episodes of Law and Order, my way of maintaining sanity in an insane world. I dropped my purse by the front door, kicked off my sensible flats, and headed straight to my home office where I kept the emergency procedures file cabinet. The folder was bright pink, labeled in black Sharpie, Lease 2004 Nuclear Option. I'd never imagined actually opening it, but corporate life had taught me to prepare for every backstabbing scenario. Inside, original lease agreement, 8 amendments, property insurance documents still in my name, utility contracts I'd personally guaranteed, and a stack of post-it notes with doodles from Bradford's kids during those early office Christmas parties when we were still a family instead of a corporation. 19 years ago, Kingsley Technologies couldn't get approved for a business credit card, let alone a commercial lease in downtown Denver. No financial history, no corporate track record, just big dreams and bigger debt. Bradford sat in that Denny's booth, stirring his coffee with a broken spoon, admitting his startup was one rejection letter away from bankruptcy. "If you don't put your name on this lease, we're finished," he'd said. "The landlord won't even look at our application." So I signed it. Not as a co-signer, not as a guarantees. I signed the entire lease agreement myself, temporary arrangement until we establish corporate credit, we agreed. Just until we got on our feet. We never had that conversation again. I sat at my kitchen table, cracked open a Diet Coke, and started reading through the legal language like my future depended on it. Because it did. Page 18, Section 12C, renewal of lease term requires written notice from lessee no later than 60 days prior to expiration date. I checked the expiration date. September 30th. Today was October 2nd. 2 days past the deadline. They hadn't renewed. Not a single email, not one phone call, not even a sticky note reminder from their overpaid legal department. They were so busy restructuring personnel and optimizing operational costs that they'd missed the most important deadline in their company's physical existence. I leaned back in my chair, feeling a smile creep across my face like sunrise over the mountains. Not a nice smile. A dangerous one. The kind of smile that appears when the universe hands you a gift-wrapped box of poetic justice. It wasn't just that they'd fired me. It was how they'd fired me, like I was some disposable middle-aged woman whose institutional knowledge could be replaced by a younger employee with better software skills and a cheerier attitude. But my institutional knowledge included being their landlord. And now they were squatters with expensive coffee machines and standing desks. I wore my church shoes to the meeting with the property management company, not because I needed to look professional, but because they made a satisfying click against marble floors. I wanted the world to hear me coming. Patricia Hendricks, the property manager, looked up from her computer screen when I walked into her downtown office. She had the kind of face that suggested she'd seen every type of rental drama possible and had developed immunity to surprise. "Jarvis," she said, genuinely puzzled. "I wasn't expecting you. Is everything all right with the Kingsley account?" I sat down, pulled out my folder, and placed the lease documents on her desk like evidence in a murder trial. "I need to confirm something. There was no written renewal request submitted by August 30th, correct?" She clicked through her computer system, fingers dancing across the keyboard. "No, nothing from Kingsley Technologies. We sent multiple reminders starting in June." Radio silence. She paused, studying her screen. "We assumed they were negotiating a new deal elsewhere or going month to month while they sorted things out." I nodded, calm as a lake before a storm. Under Section 12C, failure to provide written notice converts the lease to month-to-month tenancy, correct? Technically, yes. Patricia leaned back in her chair, which squeaked like a rusty gate. But Jarvis, where is this going? I pulled another document from my briefcase, crisp letterhead, gold embossed logo, the works. I'm formally notifying you of lease termination. Effective in 30 days. As the legal lessee of record. Her eyebrows shot up so high they nearly hit the ceiling tiles. You're terminating it? But what about Kingsley Technologies? What about them? I asked, genuinely curious. They missed their renewal deadline and never informed me of their intentions. I've already secured a replacement tenant. The replacement tenant was a wellness startup called Zenflow Collective, all organic smoothies and meditation pods. Young entrepreneurs with venture capital funding and a desperate need for downtown office space to house their oxygen bar and crystal healing workshop area. I'd met their founder, Ashley, at a farmer's market while buying tomatoes. She offered 4 times the current lease rate without even seeing the space. Patricia ran her hand through her graying hair. This is going to create complications. Complications, I said, standing to leave, are what they gave me after 19 years of loyalty. Back home, I opened my laptop and began typing. A legal document that would change everything. Plaintiff, Jarvis and Coleman. Defendant, current occupants, Suite 1200 to 1250. Reason for eviction, failure to renew lease, breach of occupancy terms, unauthorized subletting. That last part was golden. I discovered they were renting a corner office to some cryptocurrency consultant without ever informing me. Another little oversight that would cost them dearly. I filed the eviction notice online through the Denver County portal, paid extra for expedited processing. The confirmation email arrived with a cheerful ding that made me feel younger than a spa day ever could. Then, like clockwork, my phone buzzed. Text message from Bradford Kingsley himself. Jarvis, we need to talk. There's been a misunderstanding about the lease situation. I smiled, set my phone aside, and poured myself a glass of wine. There was no misunderstanding. There was just consequences, served ice cold after 19 years of being taken for granted. The eviction notice would be posted tomorrow morning. Kingsley Technologies had 72 hours to vacate the premises or face legal action. Time to see how quickly they could restructure their way out of this mess. At exactly 7:23 a.m., Bradford Kingsley's Tesla squealed into the parking garage like a wounded animal. I wasn't there to witness it personally, but Tommy Rodriguez had stationed himself across the street with a cup of coffee and a front row seat to corporate chaos. He texted me updates like a sports commentator. CEO just found the eviction notice. Turned 3 shades of red I didn't know existed. The notice was fluorescent orange, laminated, zip-tied to the main entrance glass doors. Official county court seal, legal jargon, and a 72-hour countdown that ticked like a time bomb. Notice to vacate premises. Breach of lease agreement. Failure to renew, unauthorized occupancy. Plaintiff, Jarvis and Coleman. 72 hours to comply. By 8:15 a.m., Brittany from HR was pacing the lobby like a caged animal, her iPhone glued to her ear, trying to reach someone who could make this nightmare disappear. The entire marketing team had gathered around the notice like tourists at a car accident. Bradford yanked at the zip ties, read the document twice, then stood there looking like a man who just realized he'd been playing chess while everyone else was playing checkers. My phone rang at 8:47 a.m. Bradford's name flashing on the screen like a warning signal. Jarvis, his voice cracked like ice under pressure. What the hell is this? You can't evict an entire company. Do you have any idea what this looks like to our investors? I put him on speaker, settled into my kitchen chair with a fresh cup of coffee, and prepared to enjoy the show. I absolutely can evict you, Bradford. And I did. You might want to check your lease documentation. Oh wait, you don't have any because you never renewed it. We assumed. That's your problem right there, I cut him off. You assumed. You assumed I was just the office manager. You assumed someone else handled the important stuff. You assumed I'd always be there to clean up your messes. Silence. Then heavy breathing that suggested his blood pressure was approaching dangerous territory. This is revenge, he finally sputtered. You're destroying the company because you got laid off. No, Bradford. I'm responding to being destroyed. There's a difference. You fired the person who held the keys to everything, literally and figuratively, without bothering to understand what I actually did for this company. I opened my email and crafted a message while he wheezed into the phone. To legal@kingsleytech.com. CC, Brittany.hr@kingsleytech.com. Subject, Company Property, as requested. Attached is the complete original lease agreement, including all amendments and violation documentation. As you requested confirmation that I returned all company documents, consider this fulfillment of that requirement. Attachment, eviction signed PDF. I hit send while Bradford was still processing his new reality. You can't do this to us, he said, his voice smaller now, almost pleading. I'm not doing anything to you, I replied, surprisingly calm. I'm just not doing everything for you anymore. There's a difference. The line went quiet for several seconds. Then he tried one last desperate card. The board will never let this stand. We'll fight this in court. With what legal team? I asked. The one that missed a 60-day lease renewal deadline? Good luck with that. I hung up and walked to my window. 4 blocks away, I could see the glass tower that had been my second home for nearly 2 decades. Smoke wasn't literally rising from the building, but I imagined I could feel the heat of panic from here. Zenflow Collective was scheduled to begin moving in on Monday morning. They'd already ordered custom meditation cushions and a juice bar for the lobby. Ashley, their founder, had texted me earlier, "Can't wait to bring positive energy to that space." Meanwhile, Kingsley Technologies was about to learn what it felt like when positive energy, and basic competence, walked out the door. They had 72 hours to find new office space, pack 19 years of accumulated junk, and explain to their investors why they were being evicted by their former office manager. I raised my coffee mug in a toast to the empty kitchen, to endings that felt like beginnings, to leverage that stays fresh forever while gratitude spoils faster than milk left in the sun. Monday morning arrived like Christmas, and the 4th of July rolled into one perfect package. I sat on my porch swing with black coffee and a cinnamon roll, watching the chaos unfold 4 blocks away through my binoculars, the same ones I'd used for birdwatching, now repurposed for corporate disaster observation. The moving trucks arrived at 6:30 a.m. 2 yellow U-Hauls with mismatched license plates and 1 professional moving company truck that probably cost more than my monthly mortgage. Kingsley Technologies was evacuating like rats from a sinking ship, and the spectacle was better than any reality TV show. Bradford emerged from his Tesla wearing a wrinkled suit, and the expression of a man who discovered his parachute was actually a backpack full of angry bees. Brittany from HR wore sunglasses bigger than her future job prospects, barking orders into her phone like she was commanding a military operation instead of a corporate yard sale. Someone had taped a handwritten sign to the side of one moving truck, "Strategic relocation in progress." Strategic, my ass. This was a full-scale retreat with all the dignity of a food fight in a nursing home. Then came the moment that made 19 years of invisible thankless work worth every second of frustration. Bradford completely lost his composure. A Herman Miller office chair slipped from his hands and crashed into the side of the U-Haul with a sound like a gong announcing the end of an empire. He kicked the bumper, screamed something about ungrateful employees and corporate sabotage, then threw his hands in the air like he was surrendering to the universe. Someone caught it on video. Within 3 hours, it was trending on LinkedIn with the caption, "When your office karma comes back to collect with interest." The comments were brutal and beautiful. Maybe don't fire the person who actually knows how your company works. Chair throwing, the mark of true executive leadership. Plot twist, the office manager was the CEO all along. Tommy Rodriguez texted me updates throughout the morning. They tried to hire emergency movers. Nobody available. Brittany's crying in the parking garage. Bradford's on his 4th phone call with lawyers who keep telling him he doesn't have a case. By noon, Zenflow Collective arrived with their own moving crew, sage bundles, and a playlist of meditation music that floated through the downtown air like an audio massage. Ashley, their founder, wore flowing white pants and carried a potted succulent like a peace offering to the building's energy. She knocked on my door around 2 p.m., holding a gift basket wrapped in organic hemp fabric. "Jarvis," she said, her smile genuine as mountain sunshine, "I wanted to thank you personally. Not just for the space, but for the story. The universe works in mysterious ways." I laughed, a real laugh, the kind that comes from deep in your chest and clears out 19 years of accumulated resentment. The universe had a little help from some very thorough legal documentation. The basket contained organic tea, locally sourced honey, a gratitude journal, and a small envelope with a handwritten note: "Thank you for showing us that sometimes the best business strategy is simply being prepared, being patient, and being right." That evening, I walked to my hallway closet and pulled out a small wooden shadow box I'd been saving for something special. Inside, I placed the original office key, the brass one they'd given me in 2004, the one that had opened every door when doors still mattered. Not because it unlocked anything anymore, but because it had locked out everything I no longer needed to carry. I hung the shadow box next to my college diploma and my grandmother's wedding photo, artifacts of different chapters, different versions of myself. The key gleamed under the hallway light like a medal of honor for the war I'd finally won. Bradford Kingsley eventually found temporary office space in a strip mall between a nail salon and a tax preparation service. The company survived, barely, bleeding money and talent like a punctured tire on a mountain highway. The investors weren't thrilled about the facility's management oversight that led to their unexpected relocation costs. Brittany from HR lasted 6 more months before taking a position with a dental equipment company in Nebraska. In her LinkedIn farewell post, she mentioned learning valuable lessons about the importance of institutional knowledge and employee appreciation. "Too little, too late, but I appreciated the acknowledgement." Zenflow Collective thrived in their new space. They hosted community yoga classes, mindfulness workshops, and quarterly gratitude ceremonies where they actually thanked their employees by name. Ashley sent me quarterly updates and invited me to their anniversary celebration. I declined politely. I had other things to do. Gardens to tend, books to read, a life to live that didn't revolve around fixing other people's problems or making other people's dreams come true at the expense of my own dignity. Sometimes people ask me if I feel guilty about what I did to Kingsley Technologies. The answer is simple: you can't feel guilty about stopping something that was already broken. I didn't destroy that company. I just removed the scaffolding that was holding up their illusion of competence. They wanted to treat me like company property, disposable and replaceable. I just gave them back what they actually owned, which, as it turned out, was a lot less than they thought. The key hangs in my hallway now, catching sunlight through the window, reminding me daily that sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's just stepping aside and letting consequences do what consequences do best. And if you've made it this far, you beautiful legends of workplace justice, hit that subscribe button. Because every great story deserves an audience, and every underestimated employee deserves their moment in the sun.